Okay. Everybody's good. I think we'll go ahead and get moving. Can you guys, I guess, Carl, it sounds like I might be having some... Oh,
No, we can hear you now.
Okay, thanks, Carl. So we left off yesterday with a tabled motion by Miles with the friendly agreement a friendly amendment from Heather, and so I'm going to ask the Secretariat to bring that up. And while they do that, if anybody has some comments or something they'd like to say before we start the meeting, please go ahead and raise your hand, or I didn't mean to jump right in. Does not look like it. I guess my one caution is that we are pretty short on time. So Heather sent me a note, and I have some verbiage from her, and so I'll go ahead and get that up on the screen for people to look at. But I don't know how much time we have for the same amount of time as yesterday for discussion on this. So I'm going to put up the verbiage that Heather sent me, but if somebody doesn't already have verbiage provided or written up, I would prefer that we just kind of stick with what we have or the already written verbiage. I think we should try and stay away from restructuring the whole paragraph, or not to say that we don't want to hear your comments. We just need to make sure that we can get this done and the minutes finished in time to present to the commissioners. Heather, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I don't see the amendment. I don't see the additional sentence.
Yes. Okay. So we do have the additional sentence. So Cloud, could you please just put paragraph 41 underneath 40 in the same section so we can read it all together? Awesome. Thank you so much. So there you go, Heather. Thank you so much, Heather, for adding these or bringing up these two. I can share my screen. Last night as we worked on the minutes, we did add something on both proxies and parliamentary procedure into the minutes. So we can also perhaps we should bring up the part on parliamentary procedure as well, Cloud, so everyone can see that. I apologize. So we have included some wording on that into the minutes as well. So this should give you a pretty comprehensive.
Okay, that's fine. I just added that in my language that I sent to you this morning because I didn't know that you had done that last night.
No problem. We really I appreciate all of that, Heather, and I guess we did make some edits to the, kind of made these more formal. If everybody wants to take a second to read through them, and then we can discuss. The proxies are also discussed. I think there was a sentence added on to your amendment, Heather, in 41 to address proxies.
I see that. I just did the language just in case you needed it this morning. You don't need to put it up because it looks like you've got both of the things that I mentioned, which were parliamentary procedure, retaining parliamentary procedure, and doing the revisions to the proxy process is or procedure. I can't remember how I put it. Thanks. That's fine.
So again, I'll give everybody some time just to read through what we have here. Go ahead, Peggy. Go ahead, Peggy.
Morning, Madam Chair. Thank you. I've read through this and like it. I just have one suggestion to change one word in paragraph 41. It's on the second line that starts out, which would include a role for Hannah. And I'd like to change the would to could, which would leave our options open a little broader. Sorry, I'd like to change could, or did you just change that? Could, yes. That's how I would like it.
Cloud is very quick. He's very quick.
Thanks, Claude.
Heather, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam. You're proposing that 39, 40, and 41 is now the motion that made? Is that what you're proposing, or are you just capturing something in 39 that you already knew? Then 40 and 41 might be kind of the basis for the motion that Miles made, and is that what you're doing, what you're thinking?
I'm going to let Carl go ahead and speak to that. He's got his hand.
I think this sort of captures the essence of what we were really debating yesterday, unless there's some other views on it. So, you know, if someone were to put forward a friendly amendment to the motion, I think that it would help sort of speed things along. But that's just my suggestion. I can't put that forward.
The only thing I would also add to that, Heather, is we were still also working on these all caps letters in terms of the PAB recommended, the PAB agreed, and the PAB noted. So I guess those were words that we wanted to make sure people, I think that this is the PAB noted in 41 is different than what you had originally suggested. So we just want to make sure that those capture also what people are.
Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
So clearly, you know, just in terms of parliamentary procedure, if you're making suggestions or friendly amendments to a motion that Miles made and I amended, then that's, you know, we should vote on it, I guess, if that's your intent. That's what I was asking about. Is it your intent that we vote on a motion to sort of memorialize this, or is this just something different now? I'm sorry. That's what I was asking.
No, that makes sense. So, you know, I think we added in 39, Carl added in 39 as something that we did feel was something we had discussed into the minutes. But the motion on the floor would be to vote for 40 and 41. I don't believe Carl or I can make a friendly amendment, so I guess I apologize if we stepped out of turn, but we're just kind of trying to provide the group with some verbiage. So if someone would like to make a friendly amendment to add 39 to be a part of the motion, that's fine. I think we can leave 39 separate and just vote on 40 and 41, which would be basically what the motion that was on the floor yesterday before we ended.
That was exactly what I was trying to say. So I will make the friendly amendment regarding 40 and 41, that language that you worked on, I'll make that friendly amendment if Miles accepts that as a friendly amendment.
Yeah, I accept it. I would also accept adding 39 in there just to streamline things and do one vote for all three.
Sounds good. I will make that friendly amendment as well then.
Fantastic. Let's get it done, people.
I agree.
Very good.
Yeah, let's do that.
I did want to note one thing. I apologize. So Norm is in the chat, and he said, "Could I suggest active role wording?" So I'm not sure. Would that be in the for paragraph 4? The PAB agreed that it would like Hannah to continue to play an active role with the PAB. Should the IPHC secretariat assume the secretariat role? Yes. Is everybody okay adding active before play, right?
Yes, I think I'm okay with it.
Thanks, Miles.
I'm okay with that. Another friendly amendment, I guess, is how that would be.
Heather. Go ahead, Carl.
Should it be continue to play an active role within the PAB? Just
I think I actually, yeah, no, I agree. Yes.
thank you.
Okay, so does everybody want to read through one more time before we vote? Okay, so we will go ahead and put forward to a vote. Similar to every vote so far, if you are in agreement with, I guess, using this wording and putting these into the minutes as our actually our feelings towards the amendment, the amended ROP, then please give us a thumbs up, and if you're against it, a thumbs down, and if you'd like to abstain, just raise your hand. Just waiting on one more, Michael, if you could give us your vote. Awesome, thank you so much. And it passes unanimously. I can't, that word every time. Okay, and then if proxies want to go ahead and cast their vote. Great. So if the Secretariat can now bring up the agenda, I do believe we're on the item of new business or other business. So as we move into other business, I do know that there were, I believe it was Michael that maybe had some things that she would like to add here, and I see Peggy just said in the note, thanks everybody for the support. So to circle back, if I guess I'd just like to open the floor for other business. I don't know if we want to, create, if there's certain points that people want to make sure that we touch upon, but go ahead, I'll open the floor up.
Hi, Jesse. Thanks, and good morning, everybody. I really was interested in understanding if we wanted to have a discussion on putting together some words that would be able to address a long-term strategy for harvest. knowing that there's been, a lot of discussion around what happens after this year with the agreement ending, if there is any forward thinking that we want to be able to have the PAB collectively support. I'm interested in knowing if that's on anybody else's minds.
Yes, Heather.
Michael, I believe that we should talk about that. I think that the conference board may have worked on some language on that. I've seen things floating around last evening, statements regarding forward looking at the agreement and how that should go in the space between now and next year's meeting. I don't know if you have any proposed language regarding that, or whether you're just wanting to have a discussion.
Through the chair, I don't have any proposed language at this time. There are bullets that we could review from the conference board, if that's entertaining for people. But I just was interested in people wanting to have the discussion at first. But yeah, I'm happy to put together some language if appropriate.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for that. Go ahead.
Sorry, Jesse, add a bit. Did you call on me?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes, the conference board has put out two versions of their recommendations to the commissioners, one from Canada and one from the United States. And I've been looking at those and have some language that I could put in the chat that we could start with. It's just a draft that takes some of those ideas and a few others.
Yeah, I noticed that either or you or if Michael has some bullet points, if someone wants to just email those to me, I can also share my screen and we can just work off a Word document. I think the chat, we could definitely use the chat. It just is pretty small and like hard to I think to see. So whatever works best for everybody. I'm happy to share my screen and put a Word document up.
Thank you, Jesse. I'll send this to you now.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead, Carl.
I'm not quite sure, Peggy, if what you have is exactly the same as this, but I have some verbiage from the Canadian side that I can just pop into this notes here.
That'd be great. I got this last night.
I didn't copy. Sorry, 1 second here. See if I can copy the. It's not grabbing the numbers here, so let me just edit this really quickly. 1 second.
Peggy, I see you have your hand up, and Heather, Carl, you have your hand up too. Do you want to speak to this really quickly?
Not necessarily. I just seems to be what the Canadian side was putting forward on the conference board.
Very good. Heather, please go ahead.
Of the status of this at the conference board, and I know that there are two separate proposed agreements, I guess. Does anyone know what the status of those is currently at the conference board? Still under discussion? Is that where they are? Do you know, Peggy?
Sorry, thanks. Through the chair, I believe they've been approved by each side and are under discussion now. I don't believe they had a vote last night. Haven't confirmed that though. Let me see if I get that.
I assume Peggy is checking on the status of that discussion with the conference board, and she maybe just left her hand up. But if Peggy, please, just if you have something to say, go for it. And that being said, Michael, following up with your question, if there's a draft of language that you would like to supply, or if there's some language that you would like to see, please, by all means, also contribute, and we'd be happy to fit it in somewhere, because it looks like we will have some language in the discussion. Norm, yes, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Let's see if my microphone works this morning. It looks like I have a better signal today. I'm just wondering if everybody feels like utilizing survey data is appropriately addressed in this wording. Thank you.
Thanks, Norm.
I guess, sorry, through the chair.
Please, go ahead.
You know, it might be difficult to start with these bullets from the different countries and come together on understanding the PAB's point of view for some forward-thinking recommendations. So I might actually suggest not putting the two separate countries' positions up on the screen and actually having it be a conversation similar to what Norm just provided, with a question answer and then a more general statement from our group. It might really be difficult to be able to find the middle ground if we're working off of some very vetted and very uniquely positioned statements.
Thanks, Michael. Yeah, Heather, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Couldn't agree more, Michael. I think it would be perhaps take longer than we have this morning to reach a sort of a melded statement that includes both Canada's thoughts and US thoughts coming out of the conference board. I agree with you.
Peggy, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Michael and Heather. So the most recent email I sent you was the US version of this from the conference board. But just before that, I sent you just a draft for us to, if you would like to put that up, we could start to change, add things, take away things from that.
I guess my understanding is that Heather and Michael don't think that we should put up verbiage from either country that came from the conference board to avoid confusion. But maybe I misunderstood that.
No, I agree with them. I am of the same mind, but I have looked at those over the evening last night, and I've come up with what could start our discussion. So I have different verbiage that was intended to be put before the PAB to start the discussion today.
Okay, so the wording I have now is the USCB members noted. So this would be strictly from the US side. Did you want me to put up the original email that you sent me?
The one that I sent you about 10 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago, I've sent you two in the last 10 minutes, and it's the first one I sent, not the second one. The second one is the US version from the conference board.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Peggy, for the clarification on that. Norm, I see you have your hand up.
Sorry, Madam Chair, left over. I didn't take it down.
No problem. No problem at all. And Heather?
Thank you, Madam. I agree that this is the best way to do it. I was just hoping that other members of the PAB had the opportunity to see perhaps the two. I know it's confusing, but it was helpful for me last night to see both the Canadian and the US attempts at putting together a framework for discussion. So I think it's instructive to see those two, but I really agree, as I said before, that we shouldn't start with them. So I'm glad that Peggy has put together this merge.
Very, very well. Okay, then I'll start by asking, did everyone have a chance to read the verbiage that Carl put up for us? Did everybody have a chance to kind of skim through that, or should we put that back up, allow people a chance to read that, and I can share my screen and we can read through the US one and then start the discussion? Yeah, Peggy, go ahead.
Thank
Sorry, Peggy, you cut out a little bit. Can you?
Sorry, that sounds good to me. Just to allow everyone to understand what the conference board is discussing now, and then use my draft to start our own discussion.
I understand. Okay. I see Carl is typing something out now. I'm happy to. While he works on getting a new note, I'm happy to share my screen and I can show everyone what Peggy sent me. Oh, never mind. Carl's got this up, so if we want to take a second to read through the motion that was recommended by the Canadian side of the conference board, and then I'll give everybody maybe 5 minutes, and then I'll share my screen and show the US recommendation. If everybody sort of had a chance to review this, give me a thumbs down if you need a little bit more time. Just another note, if you haven't noticed already, you can scroll on this window to read. If you look over here or if you look to the right of the window, you can scroll and go ahead and read all the way to the bottom. With no thumbs down, if the Secretariat could close or save these notes windows, I can't actually share my screen with those up because I can't see I don't have access to the share screen. So that notes 22 also has to be moved over because I can't share my screen. Thank you very much. Right, I got you, Peggy. Yeah, we're just trying to get to that place. So one second. Thank you for the clarification. Oh, I should put this. 1 second. I suppose I could just put it in a note if that's better. But here we are.
I'll bring a new note up for you.
Okay, sorry. That was my... Okay, so the verbiage that is now on the note, it would say at the top, note 24 will be the U.S. Conference Board members' recommendation to the commissioners about a long-term strategy. Okay, again, if everybody's had a chance to read, please give me a thumbs up, or if you've got a thumbs down if you need a little bit more time. Cool, awesome. Very helpful. I think at this point we can bring up the verbiage from Peggy that talks about PAB. So thanks, notes 22, that'd be great. Thank you very much. Peggy, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think this exercise has really been good. And it's given me a little bit more clarity in a couple of things that I think we probably should add. I'll just verbally describe that. After having read both of these other versions, I think the point in Chris Spore's version, in the Canadian version, sorry, that a multi-year agreement should be adopted to provide longer-term stability should be discussed here at among this group, and then I think comment on this should be developed in a transparent process with adequate input from stakeholders should also be added for discussion. And finally, after discussing the smoothing elements that should be part of this, the effect of these policy choices should be evaluated using I'm sorry, not the smoothing policies, but the explicit policy-based decisions that are referred to in both of the versions should be evaluated using the MSE framework. That was explicitly added to the US version, and I think that's a good addition, but, probably should be discussed. Definitely should be discussed. So just those three things I would add to this, just if people want to discuss it. Happy to hear what others think.
Try and add those in quickly, Peggy, and obviously that was the one you said. Transparent process with adequate input from the stakeholders. That was from the U.S. side, and then I feel like you said there was something on a 2-year. Can you say that one again?
Sorry, not
That's
enough
okay.
coffee yet. Thank you, Jesse. The third one was a multi-year agreement, and whether we would support something like that, just a multi-year agreement to give more stability to both parties. And then just for clarity, that last line, you do have it right, but what we're suggesting that go through the MSE framework would be the explicit policy considerations that go into the distribution decision. For socioeconomic considerations, that kind of thing.
I'm super sorry. So explicit policy, and I know it's. I'll fix that, but.
Considerations.
And then you said basically in regards to the socioeconomic impact.
Yeah, I would say that that's the general category that those policies are trying to consider is the socioeconomic impact. That looks good. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Yes, Heather, I see your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I like where this is going, Peggy. I do have a question regarding, and they aren't numbered, but it's at the regulatory area, minimize variability in year-to-year survey abundance indices, such as a 3 to 5 year rolling average. I'd like you to address the 5-year rolling average. That seems to me to be, I don't know, it just strikes me that that's perhaps a little bit much. but maybe you can explain why you use 3 to 5 rolling average.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, Heather, I agree with you. It's not been used before. It was a question I had for Ian, seems like years ago, but earlier this week. The sometimes the trend is clear. Sometimes it's really a high spike and a low valley and then high the next year. And in those cases, if there are 3 years of going down or going up, then a 3-year average is only going to reflect that. And it's great going up if you want a higher quota level, but it's not so great going down because it's a predictive, this decision making for distribution, predictive exercise, and they could get it really, really wrong on either end. So if we expanded that to 5 years, then it may, my only thought was that it would include more variables and provide a little wider of a margin for accuracy if you're going to predict something in a regulatory area. The example I was using was the bycatch in for CDE, really low the last 3 years. So that is what the prediction will be, but as we all know, it could be much, much higher than that. So, you know, and his answer to that was, well, if you look at bycatch over a really long time, it's definitely gone down. So there will always be a bias in the prediction, no matter how many years you decide to look at, if there's a clear trend in that time series, which is, of course, true. So, you know, I'm just trying to toast the ice cube, I guess, a little bit and see if we can get closer to more accurate predictions.
Thank you, Peggy. Madam Chair, could I reply? Thank you. I see what you're saying, and I heard some of that discussion with Ian that was public. I feel as though it might be a little bit too prescriptive to say 3 to 5 year, and of course this is just for consideration. But I just want to flag that I have concerns about that, and then I have a second point about it, and that is how much of this, and we may not know the answer to this, how much of these smoothing capabilities are there within the current modeling that is done by the Secretariat. I know that there is some in the models that Ray uses, but this is beyond that, right? Or are you asking that, are you suggesting that those be included in the modeling process somehow and that be changed? It's just complex, and I was just wondering if you'd thought about all that.
Yeah, I have thought a little bit about that through the chair. Excuse me, Jesse. You're right, Heather. We don't know. It's really a good question to know exactly where those smoothing calculations take place. But mostly they are very transparent, the ones we talk about every year. So that was where this intention was. I think that's what Dan Falvey was thinking. I think he was the contributor to this part of it at the conference board, that of what we know, and it really would be good to know, you know, the whole thing as well as Ian does, probably in my next lifetime, maybe, but that would be for survey abundance indices and in the coastwide assessment of abundance. So, and that's a very complex one using the SPR approach. But those are the two that I see a smoothing being used already. And I don't know how long the smoothing has been done for bycatch and for CDE. So that would be a third one.
Madam Chair, if I could, just one more comment. I am concerned about this from several perspectives. One of them is that the abundance index from the setline survey is used to determine the bycatch limits or will be used to help determine the bycatch limits in 4 CDE, which has been the subject of much discussion regarding high bycatch and so on. So I don't know if it's appropriate to add something that recognizes that, because that is a huge thing when the bycatch limits are set annually in the new framework that was just passed by the council, the North Pacific Council. There will be a consideration of each abundance index, one of them being the setline survey. And so if it's smooth, I'm just trying to understand what all those implications are for the bycatch limits in the Bering Sea, which will start taking place next year. I just wanted to flag that for people's understanding. I'm not suggesting any changes. It's complicated in the Bering Sea by that.
Madam Chair? Through the chair, sorry. I think that would still be separate because this is specifically for distribution of 032 coast-wide and regulatory areas. So I think the formula for the bycatch caps uses the double indices, and there is no smoothing. That's raw data that they're using there, I believe. I think it should be separate and so therefore protected. It's something I can check with Ian on.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Peggy, for getting this put together, and Heather for your detailed questions. I would also like to, we haven't heard much from the Canadian side, and I would like to, if somebody from that party would like to speak to this at all, or their opinion on the verbiage that's being used. I can't tell if this is one of those times that nobody wants to talk, or if I just I'm not being.
No, you're being heard. It's a quiet.
Thanks, Paul. Okay.
I don't know if Nick or Bruce have any opinion of this, or Casey.
Okay. Anybody else? I mean, obviously, I welcome opinion from the U.S. side as well. I don't know if anybody else wants to speak to the verbiage that we have here. Lauren has mentioned in the chat, I'm on board with how it stands now. Does anybody want to speak to these additions that Peggy had added? I guess from my perspective, I do like all three of those in terms of just saying we want to be a part of how important it is that the stakeholders are part of the process. Carl?
I would like to have some part of, all removals, both in the directed and non-directed fishery, be monitored. I think that's a big contingent as well with what's going on in the Bering Sea with the trawl fleet.
Yes, Heather.
And I wanted to find out what you meant by monitored. Does that mean observed? Does that mean something?
Well, I think obviously from a Canadian perspective, through our monitoring program with the camera system and the we feel the accountability is there. I know it's maybe a little bit more of an audacious task to ask for the same sort of level that on the U.S. side, but I think that there needs to be some more accountability, especially in the non-directed fishery.
Madam Chair? Thank you, Carl. I completely agree, of course, and have spent the last 5 years trying to help bycatch monitoring and management be better in the Bering Sea, particularly. As you know, the council just passed, as was reported in the full session earlier this week, the North Pacific Council just passed a new procedure, a new management procedure for bycatch by groundfish fisheries in the Bering Sea. And we're pretty happy with that. Those halibut stakeholders in the Bering Sea are pretty happy with that. There has not been anything similar passed in the Gulf of Alaska. And I just want to make that distinction for folks who may not, operate in those areas, that there is still concern among halibut stakeholders in the US about continued bycatch in the Gulf of Alaska, halibut bycatch, and also by the level of observer coverage, that's what we call it, for monitoring. We have both human observers and electronic monitoring. Electronic monitoring is just sort of in the developmental stages in the Gulf and the Bering Sea. But it's clear to the halibut stakeholders that the issue has been somewhat resolved in the Bering Sea. And so we have 100% human coverage in the Bering Sea of trawl vessels. In some cases, 200% human coverage. That is not true in the Gulf of Alaska. So just to clarify that, we feel as though we've had some success just recently at the December meeting in dealing with halibut bycatch in the Bering Sea. I've talked about it many times here at the PAB and appreciate the support that we've got from the PAB and from the IPHC in that endeavor. That's kind of done for the moment, and we're happy with it. I don't know if you want to be a little bit more specific in your monitoring request, because some of it's definitely taken care of, some of it may not be. So just wanted to add that.
I think I'm happy then to just have it reflect to cover on into the areas where it's not being monitored. Other than that,
That would be great.
don't know what the correct verbiage for that is. But
You kind of cut out there, Carl, at the end, so I apologize if I missed what you would like me to add. I understand is that perhaps I don't know if we want to call out an area specifically, but say, continued improvement on monitoring. Monitoring the directed and non-directed fishery. Noting that. Okay.
Yeah, just continue improvement. Heather agrees. See a thumbs up. Norm?
Yeah, through the chair. Thanks, Carl. Just wanted some clarification. I think I know this already, but in Canada, all fishing, all halibut fishing, commercial fishing is observed, whether by camera or by observer. Is that correct?
Yes. I think that the majority of the monitoring is due through electronic monitoring.
Thank you.
Yeah, Peggy, go ahead. I was going to say my silence is more off of just waiting if anybody else would like to add anything to this or has any additional comments.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm reading this through now for the hopefully last time, and I'd like to hear from others if you see any downside to the bullet that says multi-year agreement to give more stability to both parties. I'm just trying to think this through, and we just are finishing up a multi-year agreement that turns out has not worked out well for one side, as well as it has for the other side. And in this time of climate change, I mean, I'm just trying to be devil's advocate here. There's just so much uncertainty as to what the where the fish are going to be, where they're going, how they might be impacted by being locked into a distribution plan. So the option would be a plan that could be changed if conditions change. I'm just wondering how people feel about that.
I see Carl, you have your hand up. Go ahead. And Marisol, you got yours up too. So you're next.
I think if it went year to year, that's not productive as well. I think multi-year strategy is the better way to go because there's some stability with it. To be benefited from the agreement, but also 2A. So I'm not going to chalk it up to the U.S.-Canada conflict, but maybe more regional conflict on regulatory areas. But if there was some sort of contingent, due to, I don't know. I think that the commission, if there was a significant, change due to, climate change or another warm water blob or something that sort of affects it, that they would have the oversight to step in and to stop it or to mitigate it.
That sounds great. That makes sense to me.
Heather, go ahead.
So I have a question, probably a dumb question for Peggy. When you were putting together these bullets and they're headed by long-term distribution policy, are you talking about country to country distribution, or are you referring as well to the mortality limits amongst all the regulatory areas? And did the multi-year agreement bullet refer to all regulatory areas? That was kind of a question I had right up front, and this really brings it to the fore. Can you answer that question for me?
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Through the chair. Both of them, but the multi-year agreement is specifically for allocations to Canada and allocations to the United States. So that one is very good catch.
Okay, so Madam Chair, if I could.
Yeah, I also have something to add here, Heather, but go for it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. Then I can continue it. Go ahead if you want.
Yeah, I guess I think I'm just going to echo what you said, and perhaps not as an eloquent way, but when I first read it, I was thinking sort of connected to the MSE process in terms of like they would set regulatory, just as an example, like set the limits for all areas, and then we would carry that over for 2 years. And so maybe our TCEYs would only change every other year rather than once a year, and that's something that I feel like would be beneficial for us for stability. But I guess I hadn't thought of it in terms of the agreement that we are in currently. And I wonder if maybe we need to be a little bit more specific on using that multi-year agreement and whether we're discussing like a coast-wide distribution or an agreement between both parties in terms of, so
Yeah,
Heather, go ahead.
yeah, I agree with all your thoughts there. You know, one man's stability is another man's hell in some cases, and if you're locked into an agreement that doesn't work for everybody, then you don't want it to be multi-year. And also, the second point I wanted to address was something that people have been already talking about, and I was kind of thinking about when I was asking about the 3 to 5 year rolling average. There is consideration for quick changes may be necessary in these times of climate change and what seems to be sort of fast climate change or fast uh, indications of climate change that affect the stock's location, size, and so on. And so I have the same concerns about multi-year agreements as I do about a long rolling average period. Same problem, same consideration. It's hard to know what's going to happen these days compared to the past, I think, because of climate change considerations. So I'm not crazy about the multi-year agreement, certainly amongst regulatory areas in the US and probably with Canada as well. So those are my concerns. Like yours, Jesse.
And so I guess I'm open to adding some verbiage to this to be more specific. I do think multi-year agreement, I added allocations, but I'm happy to, that doesn't need to be there. But so I guess originally it read multi-year agreement to give more stability to both parties. I don't know if we want to be more specific than that because it is a pretty broad statement. So I'll open that for thought.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If we inserted between countries after agreement, yep, perfect.
Countries. Sorry. I'm spelling that wrong. Anyway, so between countries to give more stability to both parties?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I think that captures what Carl was saying.
Thanks, Claude. I do still fear that this is, again, I just can't help but think about the agreement that we're in right now and doesn't, I guess my thought on a multi-year agreement, yeah, I guess I don't know. I'll stand down on that front. Go ahead, Carl.
I see Kit made a comment, if we make a multi-year agreement based on science, we should be covered. I think back to Peggy's comment about climate change and where fish will be and everything. It's a thought.
I don't know if I put that in the right spot. Multi-year.
I see Norm also made a comment in the chat. I don't know if he wants to speak to that a little bit more.
So I think that probably captures more of what I was on the line of. And Norm, if you'd like to speak to that, please.
Yeah, Madam Chair, happy to. In meetings previous to this and in conversation, it's, I've heard the desire that, and we went through the process ourselves in this meeting um, of the issues of trying to decide, who gets what, parceling up the pie season to season, and that, you know, the the staff should be directed to develop some sort of a program to clean up that process. And I don't know what that looks like. I have some ideas, but in my conversations with some of my gear group representatives, there's a lot of there's a lot of things that could impact this and need to be considered. So I can't, I don't have a solution to present at this time, but I think that the commission needs to hear loud and clear. I think they are, but that we need to do this, and whether that if people here feel like that should be part of what we're listing here, and I'm not sure that um, what we're looking at adequately does that.
Thanks. Thanks, Norm. I do like what you said here, and I'm trying to kind of formulate in my mind if there's like a bullet point that we could kind of, or a noted that we could sort of formulate
Madam
around
Chair?
your statement. The
I
rest
think
of
we
the
might have lost
group.
you there, Jesse.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
I can hear you,
Peggy?
Jesse.
Heard part of your statement, Jesse, but not the first part.
Might have just been me.
I'll try again. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can. Oh, I
Okay.
can. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Carl. I suppose I should open it up to the membership on if we feel like we should add another bullet point that can encompass what Norm has put in the chat. Perhaps stating our desire for a different method to have more stability moving forward, and I suppose to kind of taper our expectations as we move forward. But I do feel like perhaps we've already started that with the explicit policy considerations should be evaluated, referring to MSE framework. Does seem as though the MSE is already kind of putting that forward, that maybe we shouldn't be changing mortality limits every single year or those sorts of things. Carl, go ahead. Okay, so with no feedback, I'll just assume we do not want to add any more bullet points at this point. Yeah, Peggy, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I hope you. I would like to explore what Norm's got in mind a little more. I was trying to say that earlier, but I guess I wasn't getting through. Anyway, so let me just ask a specific question. Sorry for continuing this, but is there anything that is not included in these bullets or that is included that shouldn't be, that would get us to a better place next year to avoid what you described? I just was hoping for a little more specific description of what happens year to year that is that's so negative that we want to avoid.
I don't know if Norm wants to speak to that first, or we can, I know Heather's got her hand up, and then Carl, you also had your hand up, so I'm going to give Norm a second.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was hoping to hear from, to me, it's just not, what we have listed out here sort of addresses that, but not directly through here. And, I think it's a start, but it's not clearly pointed out to me how the importance of, what we're talking about. I would like some of the other guests in here, or the other parts of the PAB, some of these participants to weigh in if some other guys have some thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks, Norm. Heather, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I would like to hear more about Norm's ideas as well. I'm unclear as to whether, well, maybe it's both. You might be talking about using a rolling average, a smoothing, some kind of smoothing, or you may be talking about changing the current method in that it isn't wholly dependent on surveys, or, it's just, yeah, I like Peggy would like to hear a little bit more specifics there. And I don't know whether this is the place where we can develop these ideas really well. But I did have one question on the third bullet from the bottom, since it was referred to. Explicit policy considerations should be evaluated, referring to the MSC framework, in regards to the socioeconomic impact. Is that just limited to socioeconomic policy, or is it meant to refer to the MSC framework, period? Because the policy considerations, I guess, could be more than just socioeconomic. And so I just had that question as to what the intent is there. Maybe a question for Peggy or whoever put this down.
Yeah, thanks, Heather. I definitely do think it is a question for Peggy on that one. If Peggy, you want to speak to that just real briefly on that sentence, and then I'd like to go to Carl.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It refers to the first bullet, which introduces this phrase, explicit policy choices. So it could be moved up to go just below that. Explicit policy consideration should be evaluated should be evaluated by the MSC framework. And I think the explicit policy considerations, when it's referred to in the first bullet, defines what it is, addressing socioeconomic factors to provide a level of predictability. So if we just change the order of that, I think that might make more sense to the readers. Catch.
So it is just socioeconomic policy considerations then that you're referring to there.
I think we're using that phrase pretty broadly, so that would include the political policies that impact the economies of different areas. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Carl, please go ahead.
I think just chiming to one of the first question from Peggy, or a question from Peggy was, what's the negative if it's not multi-year? I think it's that stability. At least from my perspective, just sort of chiming on Norm's comment, and I think you made it as well. I do believe that the survey system, or solely relying on the surveys, is flawed. I know in Area 2B, there's been instances where they've used the wrong bait. Their timing and going into certain fishing grounds, is known where there's no fish at that time of year. Yet they've still proceeded to go in and reported back negative survey results. So I don't think the survey process should be the be-all, end-all.
I agree with you. And I was thinking about the surveys and how specialized the grid is, but how random the time is sometimes.
Yeah.
And to miss 40% of 4 CDE is kind of mind-blowing. And then not to have any survey in 2A. I mean, I can wrap my head around that a little easier, but still I can see where it makes for dissatisfied customers for sure.
Mhm. So I don't know if that's where like a smoothing um, would be beneficial because it sort of looks at, you know, more of a average rather than a particular snap or screenshot or snapshot in time.
Yeah.
I do have kind of a silly question, and I apologize, but was that not the purpose of the MSE process, was to sort of create perhaps a more stable process rather than changing things every single year? Going
The MSC the MSC
yeah, please.
process was created to really look at policies of the IPHC and see where improvements could be by modeling different components of the policy in how it works in real time. It's a sort of a complex exercise, but it was described to us at the very beginning as something that Boeing does rather than build a brand new fleet of Dreamliners, say. They're going to build one and make sure that they can scale it to the volume that they need. So that's where the hard work comes in, is checking these different suggestions out, coming from stakeholders, coming from the scientists too, and seeing if whether or not it gives us what we want. So we first had to say, we want XYZ. One of the things we wanted was no more than 15% variability in the coastwide, the allocation to regulatory areas. And so we ran the models and learned a lot that we didn't know before about how that particular management tool might behave under certain conditions. So that's what the MSC is for. It's a long, very boring process at times because we're waiting for these thousands of models to be run and see and give us the information that we've got. And then based on that, we narrow things down, prioritize things, and the commissioners, and submit it to the commissioners for their consideration, or to put it on a shelf and bring it out later, or, you know, so we did that with the scale, the abundance of determining the abundance, and then we started working on the distribution. And that was our last report, was submitting some, I think, 11 different results of the modeling on distribution that the commissioners could use. So it's not a fast process at all, and it's not designed to necessarily inform every year the commissioner's decisions. It's kind of a long-term look at what works best.
Thanks, Peggy, for that clarification. And I do see that Dr. Hicks is here, and I hope that he didn't take my very small-brained approach to trying to understand that as like, I do understand that it's much more than just much more than just trying to come up with a better policy. But from what you've explained, it does seem to me that in the long-term goal would be to come up with a better policy than we currently have, or to be able to compare the policies and maybe have some input on that.
Yes, and let's hear from Dr. Hicks if he's here.
Okay, I see Norm's hand is up, so I'm going to go ahead and give him a chance to speak, and then we'll switch down to Dr. Hicks. Go ahead, Norm.
Hi, Jesse. Yeah, I'd like to table my comments here until after Dr. Hicks gets done. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Dr. Hicks, please join us if you're available. It might be. So it looks like he is here in the room electronically, but maybe not physically. So we're going to check in and see if he's around to go ahead and provide us some insight. I don't know, Norm, if you want to try and speak to something, or we can still wait. Give it a couple minutes. I did want to mention that Peggy had put something in the chat, and there was quite a bit going on there, so I wanted to read that aloud for the group. She had heard back from Dr. Stewart on the smoothing question. Hi, Peggy. No, smoothing or averaging across years is used in indices for the ABM lookup table. However, the fifth index is the output of the space-time model. So it is not raw data in the same sense as the design-based trawl index. So thanks, Peggy, for providing that insight.
Madam Chair, I'll go ahead and speak if I have that opportunity now.
Yes, please, Norm, go ahead.
Okay, so rereading my comment there, I'm wondering if maybe my intent was misinterpreted. When I read it back, it could mean a couple of different things. What I was alluding to was not the process that the commission uses to determine the overall mortality limits. The process that I was referring to is that after they do that, then they toss it out to the PAB and to the conference board to decide what areas should get, what portion of that. And, I go back to the 3B conversation, and I have a comment about supporting 2C, and I have a text this morning from one of our reps that is on the conference board saying that this is the last year that the Area 3 will support 2C. It buoy up 2C, I believe, was the comment. The process that we currently use, and I've been involved in that off and on through the years, and it's always been the same. It ends up developing some hostility amongst the participants in the fishery, and I think that there could be a way designed that we could not have to go through that process. We can't get there now. It would take a lot of discussion to develop what that might look like. But I think it's necessary, and it just causes me some anguish to have to go to battle over every area every year. So that's the point that I was trying to make. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Norm, and I guess I would agree in terms of, I fully support the science, but maybe the distribution is how it gets distributed, or how the mortality limits get distributed by area is difficult. And I agree. I do think it gets very cumbersome to argue over every single area every year. And it looks like Dr. Hicks was in another meeting, but perhaps he's going to come over here and they'll let us know when he's ready. Yep, he is ready. So, Dr. Hicks, thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Perfect. How's things going?
Good. We're almost there.
Good, good. This is very interesting. I'm sorry I haven't followed the conversation real closely, but I've been in and out.
Yeah, no problem at all. I think we have been having some discussion around the policies and setting TCEY limits and getting from a coastwide to the coastwide TCEY and then how that's then distributed to different areas. And again, I think Norm has some things to say about it and Peggy as well, so I'll definitely let them speak to it. But I just had asked maybe on a little bit more on sort of the inception of the MSE process and how that should help us maybe get to our end goal of having a little bit more stability.
Mm-hmm. Do you want me to talk about the MSE process a little bit right now, or just wait for questions?
Let's Peggy's got her hand up, so we can go ahead and let her go. Thanks, Dr. Hicks.
Hey, Dr. Hicks, thanks for joining us. We are putting together sort of bullet points for the commissioners to consider after the interim agreement is no longer in force. And one of the things we thought about was to give them some suggestions on how to make the original decisions that they make. And that part of your schematic that we don't ever go to, which is what the commissioners apply to that final decision. So we're calling that explicit policy choices. And we have added a bullet that says explicit policy considerations should be evaluated by the MSE framework with regard to socioeconomic impacts. So could you address the possibility of that? Let us know if we're on the right track or off, and how that might work. Thank you.
Sure, thanks, Peggy. That's a really good question, and that is actually part of the program of work this year. That's the task of implementation error, and more specifically bringing in that decision-making error. I presented a couple slides the other morning on that, where what we'll do in the MSE is simulate some departure from that management procedure that the commission might, that the commission has been observed to do in the past, at least. The hard part about it that this is simulating what the decision-making process is in the future. So we have an idea how to bring in this decision-making variability into the simulation framework. And what we'll do is we'll do simulations without that decision-making variability, and then do simulations with that decision-making variability to show the differences in outputs and those outputs related to the objectives. With regard to the socioeconomic impact, that may be a little bit challenging in the MSE at this point in time, only because we don't have very specific socioeconomic objectives. Our objectives, our fishery objectives, are related to, like the amount of catch, the stability of the TCEY, the distribution of the TCEY, and things like that. But there are no specific socioeconomic impacts. So I think as we evaluate the MSE results, we'll have to make some bridging of how the TCEY relates to the socioeconomic impacts, because we don't have those defined specifically at this time in the MSE.
Very good points. Thank you so much. Thanks very much. I appreciate that. That answers my questions.
Thanks, Peggy. Does anyone have any questions? I do see that Norm from Seafood Producers Co-op may be typing in our chat room, Dr. Hicks, so I may give him a brief moment. He might have a question for you. And then anybody else, if you have a question, please.
While we're waiting, if I may just make a couple of comments. I think this is very helpful, not only potentially for the commissioners, but for myself and the Secretariat when we are considering the future of the MSE. And I think these sorts of points can then be used to help guide objectives, guide the development of management procedures, and a lot down the road. So I really appreciate the discussion that you are having, and I note that the conference board was having a similar discussion as well. And so, and I do note that in the past, the report I gave at last annual meeting, we did discuss distribution related procedures evaluated distribution related procedures at that time. And although we're not doing that this year, there are those results that can help guide the process and the development of the MSE in the future as well.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hicks. And it looks like Norm did not have a question, and I'll maybe give everybody about 10 seconds. We have a little lag time, so I'll give everybody a couple seconds to see if they have another follow-up question for you. And definitely want to thank you for stepping in and providing some clarification and helping us along in this process.
No problem. I'm around. The staff knows how to get in touch with me, and so happy to help.
Okay, I think we are all good. Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Go ahead, Peggy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So given that, how would everyone feel if we took out the socioeconomic factors, which in reading this over again would broaden our request to the commissioners and not specifically mention only socioeconomic factors? It would be all of those policy choices that they make after they receive the reference numbers from the scientists and the advice from the advisory bodies. So just leave it at explicit policy choices to provide a higher level of predictability and stability in each regulatory area.
I agree. It looks like we have some other people agreeing in the chat. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this section, Peggy, addressing socioeconomic factors. That's just want to make sure that's the section we need deleted. Okay, and then to address the bullet point underneath it, yeah, I was going to say, can I just delete the second part of that sentence? Thanks, Peggy. I suppose do we take a vote on this, or is this just, because it says the PAB noted, does that make it just part of our report? I guess it's at the desire of the membership if we need to vote on this. Okay, just to let everybody know, a vote may give it more strength. Peggy mentions the vote may give it more strength, but she's good either way. Go ahead, Heather.
I move that we approve this, these two paragraphs that are on the screen, notes 22.
I second.
Carl, I also heard, thank you, both Heather and Peggy. Carl, I heard you mention something there. Okay, doesn't look like you have much to add. So I'm going to give everybody about 10 seconds to raise your hand in case you have something to say about this before we move forward. Yep, Kit, go ahead. Oh.
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay, I think we need your audio there for a second.
Yeah, sorry, Jesse. I wasn't sure if you called on me there, and then my mic and headphone got disconnected, so I apologize.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Go for it, Carl. You had I felt like I try and pop in.
Oh, I just put you had just sort of beat me to it if this was something that needed to go to a vote or not. So that got sorted out there. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Kit, did you have something to add there? Your microphone cut out. Oh.
I see he's written he's good in the chat.
Great, thanks, Carl. Okay, well, I think we'll move forward with a vote unless if anybody has anything. Cloud has kind of mentioned if we should somewhere add in, did we want to reference the expiring interim agreement? I'm not sure if that's something that we need to add in somewhere.
Madam Chair, it is mentioned in the end.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Got it. Okay. We could perhaps maybe move that part to the beginning, and then, or it's fine at the end as well. Okay, I'm gonna feel like that. Does that seem?
Is it all right with the maker of the motion? It's okay with the seconder.
Sorry. Yes, Heather.
Yeah, that's not, Madam Chair, that we should note to ourselves that the second part now, the PAB noted that a long-term distribution policy should, et cetera, with the bullet points. There is a mix in there of an agreement between the countries and policy considerations for distribution among all regulatory areas. So it's a mix of advice, I think, both for the commissioners regarding the negotiations between the two countries, and also advice having to do with the distribution policy among all regulatory areas. I believe, and I know that that has been discussed and we all know that, but I just wanted to point out that there is a mix here of the negotiation aspect and the broader considerations for distribution.
Madam Chair, I completely agree, and I can help to fix that. I can make some suggestions that we address the country-to-country issues first, and then the regulatory areas, which is under the same subhead as the PAB noted. And the first way to... Go ahead, Heather.
I was just going to say, I wasn't thinking that it needed to be fixed necessarily, but when you moved up that note regarding the contracting parties negotiations, it could be a little bit misleading that, you know, if that's our main concern, that all of these bullets apply just to that. And I think that they apply to the broader distribution policy as well. And maybe that is clear to the reader. I just thought that the moving of the order of the two statements maybe highlighted the negotiations and may be slightly misleading.
I was going to say, Heather,
that we keep the very first statement as the PAB noted that a long-term distribution policy
So if I may,
should,
before we, I mean, I guess if I could just briefly, I'm super sorry. So Heather, you were the maker of the motion, and there's no, we can have this at the end if that helps for clarification. Fact, I would say in terms of time limit, I don't know if we really want to, Peggy, I appreciate you wanting to edit this a little bit more, but if we feel like I don't necessarily want to, or I would like to get the, move this along, I guess, and so that way we can get the minutes out to the membership and begin to work on that, because I think that will also be a process. So,
Madam Chair, yes, I think that's fine. Put it back down at the bottom, and I think that removes it.
Okay. I apologize, Peggy. I didn't mean to cut you off in that. I just, I do fear if we. Oh, what just happened?
that's perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you, Peggy. So I believe we're going to move forward then with the vote on. We'll just move forward with the vote. So if everybody wants to go ahead, give us a thumbs up if you agree, thumbs down if you oppose, and if you'd like to abstain, raise your hand. I believe we're just waiting on two more members. If Norm and Nick could go ahead and give us their vote. Maybe we'll give Nick about 10 more seconds. Thanks, Nick. I believe that's everyone. Very well, and if the proxies would like to vote now. Great, the motion passes. I do believe we are still on the item of other business. So before we move on to anything else, would anybody like to? Does anybody else have anything that they would like to add into this section, or other things that we should be discussing? Yes, Carl, please.
I would suggest that we cut it off there in order for us to compile the minutes to move forward. And I'm just looking, we have about an hour left.
Very well. So with that, as long as there's no objection, somebody raise your hand or give me a thumbs down if you've got something you need to cover before we move forward. Okay. So I believe what we'll do now is Carl and I will move into a breakout room with the Secretariat for about we'll give ourselves maybe a half hour to kind of include all of this into the minutes. And then, so if everybody's okay with a 30-minute break, we can reconvene at 11:30. We could even do an hour and meet at noon and then just go from noon to 1 or 1:30, but that does push us very tight up against presenting to the commissioners. So it would be my desire to maybe meet at 11:30.
11:30 sounds good.
Hey, Claude, how much time do you think we need? Do we need half hour, or do you think? I'm just thinking, like, for a
Excuse me.
half hour to give
Yeah,
us review, it might be a little tight with the group. I don't know. We need.
through the chair, I think we can do our portion in the next 10 minutes, and then
Right.
if you can, I wasn't sure, did you want to share that document, or we're just going to share it online and walk through it?
So I would prefer, if you think we only need about 10-15 minutes, that's fine. We'll give everybody a break at 11 until 11:15 and then reconvene. And I would prefer if you shared that document on the screen and then we could go through it as a group. That was my thought. I'm open to anything.
That sounds good. I think we can manage that.
Okay. Thanks, Carl. So everybody, we're going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll be back about 11:15 to go over the notes, or sorry, to go over the minutes. I do feel like something I forgot to add to other minutes was thank you very much to the Secretariat and the support that they've supplied with us, as well as making, various members from the IPHC Secretariat staff, IPHC staff to help clarify and give presentations, but I'm sure we can. We could, I think we can go ahead and maybe get started with the group we have here, and just get the minutes up on the shared screen. Just as a reminder to the members, if you kind of hover over the top part of that screen, you can click the go full screen. So it's like a little square, and if you hit that, it will expand the minutes. So you'll be able to, if you're like me and working from a laptop, it's kind of small. So I go full screen so you can see the minutes. As we move forward, we'll probably just go page by page and then allow people to read through. And if there's an edit, just raise your hand and we'll call on you and move forward from there.
Through the chair, my apologies. I need to reset my screen.
Yeah, no problem. Take your time.
Through the chair, if I may, I'm just gonna, the first few pages are just kind of boilerplate. They have the title, the names of the commissioners, the conventions for definitions, and those elements, which generally don't get changed. So I've moved you to opening of the session. And if you just want to talk folks through it, and I'll scroll down accordingly. There's not a whole lot of elements until we get a little further into the document.
Yeah, understood. So I realize now that it might be kind of hard for people to read, but if people want to go ahead and take a second to read where we're at all the way through to adoption of the agenda, and then if there's any edits, go ahead and raise your hand and we can make that adjustment.
And just to reiterate what Jesse said, you should have the ability in that lower panel to zoom in on the window to meet your viewing needs.
I'm going to give it about another 15 seconds, and if somebody needs a little more time, please just raise your hand and we'll hold off. Yeah, Heather, go ahead.
Madam Chair, I think in the paragraph, the was held electronic 25 to 26, I think it should be 27 January.
Thank you. Peggy?
Sorry, I'm having trouble finding the meeting. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Thank you. The 1.2 on this page, election of co-chairpersons, that's the language for the conference board. We elect a chair and a vice chair. So if we could say election of chair and vice chair, that would be more appropriate. And it would agree with the text.
Thanks, Peggy. Norm, I'm going to answer your question to everybody over through my voice, but so the screen that you see now is actually controlled by the Secretariat, so we can't scroll on that one. I realize now it's a bit cumbersome to be able to read, but we'll go, if everyone is good with as it is right now, we'll go ahead and scroll so we can see the adoption of the agenda and the remaining part of the document. I do realize now that there is another alternative that before we get too deep into this, we could send the report out to the group and give them 15 minutes to read it. We don't want you to necessarily make edits and send it back to us, but then it would allow people to have those edits kind of prepared. So I'll put that out there. I should have thought of that before. We could send this draft to the group, give you all 15 minutes to read it and then come back, or we can continue to do it this way. I'm open to suggestion. Peggy, you have your hand up? Nope. Okay. I think we can move on then. So if we can scroll, so where 2 would be at the top of the screen, the adoption of the agenda. And I'll give everybody about a minute to read. Okay, so if anybody has any edits or anything they notice, please raise your hand. Thank you. I think we can scroll down to the next page. I think we can start just right at the top of the new page. I believe we were able to. I see now that you're maybe trying to keep that motion all in one, so I apologize. So I assume many of you will get into paragraph 17, which will probably be a larger one for discussion. This would be our reasoning behind our coast-wide distribution. Kit was great and provided me with some initial distribution rationale last night for each specific area. After further conversation with Carl and the Secretariat, we felt that it's not necessary to provide rationale for every single area. And again, this is just like our perspective, so I'm going to give you guys just a little background and then we can go from there. So we felt like there was a lot of discussion around 2C and 3B, under, I guess, my understanding or my thought around that is that those two are also pretty different than the reference levels, whether we're considering the inter-agreement or not. We're different than the, kind of what was referenced. So here we've put in rationale for 2C and for 3B because that's where the majority of the discussion we felt like was focused. But again, open to the group. Now that we're looking at that cloud, I wonder if we should put 2C and the rationale for 2C and then the rationale for 3B in their own maybe bullet points or like we had done with like a numerical number. Just to create the separation. But if you don't think that's necessary, no big deal. And I guess before we dive into this, does anybody have anything before paragraph 17 that they would like to edit? I see Michael's typing something in the chat.
So through the chair, while Michael's doing that, one thing that we were trying to clarify was there were comments regarding 2C and concern over the survey point for the past year, and we were not clear in this section highlighted in pink whether we could capture that by indicating that the average survey WPUE, or if the person was referring to, and I apologize, I don't recall who provided this text, but whether that was actually commercial WPUE or FIS WPUE, and if we could just tweak it there, and or if we need a separate sentence referring to the comments regarding concerns over the survey this past year.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, Kit, go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, Norman had some pretty good insight on the 2C. There were also 2 no votes in accepting this, and I think it was specific around 2C. And I think that he can talk to his concerns, but one of his concerns was that he was concerned about the survey data and the accuracy of it, and then he also wanted to support his stakeholders there.
Thank you very much, Kit. If I may, if you read a little bit further, in paragraph 18, I tried to capture norms. I asked him to put it in the chat, and that would be, I guess, my attempt at a minority report. There were 2 members that voted against that motion, and I believe the second one might have been Sika Salmon Shares. So, Michael, I do, and if I put both of those in there because Norm had provided some verbiage, and if you don't want to be a part of that, please make note of that. But anyway, to circle back on that, Kit, I did kind of capture Norm's thought on, voting against the motion. I do feel like the statement on WPUE was made by Miles in the chat. So if either one of those people want to raise their hand and kind of maybe provide some information on 17I or 17.1 on the WPUE, and then we could also have Norm kind of touch on paragraph 18. And Heather, I see you have your hand up also.
Yes, can you hear me, Madam Chair?
Yes.
Okay. Under area 2C, paragraph, the first sentence, I don't know what that second part of that sentence actually, I think it just needs to be clarified, as well as coming in lower than 2021 adopted mortality, as well as what coming in lower. I just think I need a little clarity there. I don't know what that means.
Oh, apologize. Coming in lower than the status quo, perhaps, or the 2021 adopted.
What came in lower?
That I guess. So 5.19 would be lower than the status quo of 2021. And so if you keep reading further, it's just acknowledging that we feel like there should be a reduction in that area because of what the data has said, but it shouldn't be as low as what was referenced because the other area, anyway, whatever. So I guess it would say that this 5.19 is lower than the status quo.
Okay. As well as being lower than, all right, I gotcha.
But yeah, being lower than the 2021 adopted mortality limits. Does that make more sense?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And can I get clarity on the average WPUE portion in pink there? Is that whoever made that statement, was it FIS WPUE or was it commercial WPUE?
Madam Chair, I think that was, is he able to respond?
Yeah, Miles is up. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I noted in the chat that it was, let's see, slide 17 of Ian's presentation, and it was just average weight of landed fish is what I was mentioning. I had questioned earlier if it was weight per unit effort or not, but when I went back through his presentation, I was noting it was the average weight of landed fish.
Thanks, Miles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Peggy, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a feeling we're going to
Unfortunately, my mic went out right as Peggy began to speak.
might have been my mic. I just looked up.
Yeah, I lost you there too, Peggy.
Sorry. So I know that these are going to be looked at by Dave and his team, thank goodness. But I'm wondering if we could put million pounds after the first reference of what our recommendations are for each regulatory area. Oh, that's much better, Claude. Thank you. I can move away from the screen now.
Go ahead, Peggy.
Sorry, just a delay in my button working.
No, that's okay. Perhaps I'm opening this up to too much discussion, but I didn't know if we needed more clarification in the last sentence of paragraph 17. I guess the transition is tough for me in terms of like just talking about two areas, but those are definitely the two areas that I think we discussed the most. I don't know if anybody else feels like there needs to be more clarification or if it's clear enough, and perhaps I'm. And then Kit, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, paragraph 18, you know, that was supposed to reference area 2C. And so there's a 2B mentioned, which we need in there, but 2C was...
So again,
they were worried about information in 2C, right?
I believe that was.
Yeah, so I just, go ahead, Carl, sorry.
No, I agree with Kit. That's all. I'll just say from Norm, this Mike's having some issues, so I feel our intent in 2C is well represented in this. And Michael agrees.
Thanks, Kit, very much for the clarification on that. Does anybody else have anything to add? You can go ahead and raise your hands, or again, I hope we didn't go over the paragraphs above 17 too quickly and that everybody was able to read those.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is difficult to know how these paragraphs are going to read without seeing what happens after them. And this is in regard to your suggestion that we do touch on each of the regulatory areas for a rationale. So is what comes after this table 1?
Yes, yep. And I guess, Peggy, I apologize for the confusion. I do not think we should provide rationale for every single area, but just
Sorry, okay.
perhaps a transition sentence that references why we're discussing 2C and 3B specifically in more length than, you know, a rationale between, regarding those two areas specifically. I don't think we need to provide rationale for each area.
Okay, that's fine, and I think it's great as is then. Thank you.
Okay, and again, I'm not trying to dictate minutes. If someone feels like we need rationale behind other areas or need to add something in there, please open it up. Cloud, we may need to look at the table first just to allow people to see that kind of transition briefly. Peggy, is that better?
Yes, that's great. Thank you.
Okay, if we could go down to 6. If you would like to scroll below to number 23, if anybody needs something, has something to add in these paragraphs, please raise your hand. Yes, Heather, go ahead.
So, Madam Chair, I can't help but notice the language in 25 is a little confusing.
Okay. Is that because it says the PAB recommended, or?
Yeah, yes, it says that, and then it corrects the record in the second sentence. Functionally, this motion failed, etc. So I just don't know how. Is this the normal way that this is framed for the public when the motion fails?
Yeah, Carl, go ahead.
I think I brought that point up yesterday. Dr. Wilson was in the room and he agreed that that was the correct framework, because I had the same question yesterday on that with the way that read.
Yeah. Read the second sentence. Not only reading, I don't want that form, but I'll just register that.
Madam Chair,
A little bit for me. Yeah, please go ahead, Peggy.
I was going to ask Heather to speak up because I'm not sure I heard her except in reference to the word functionally. And if that's the case, I'm also concerned about that. But let me suggest a change to 25 to be the PAB noted its vote on Proposition A3 or Proposal A3, and then leave the rest of it as is, either with or without that word functionally. I'm not sure what an unfunctional motion would be. Thank you.
Heather, please go ahead.
Thank you. However you want to say it is fine. I just think that there needs to be a little bit more clarity up front. For example, the motion, and then the motion, the PAB recommended, blah, 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 failed. Whatever. I don't care. I just think it's a little awkward is all.
So if we, go ahead, Heather. I was just going to ask if we just put the motion failed at the end. Is that clear? More clear?
Sure.
You have your hand up as well.
My concern with how this is going to be read is that the first sentence simply says that we recommend, that the PAB recommends the commission adopt the proposal, and yet the vote would say otherwise.
Yeah, now reading that, we should have probably said the PAB recommended that the commission not adopt the proposal, but unfortunately, we can't. I don't think we can change that now, and that would change. That would probably have reversed all our votes. So, but go ahead, Peggy.
Thank you. I think if we, so was paragraph 24 just added? Claude?
It was not just added, that was that was in there all along.
Okay. Okay, great, thank you. So we noted the proposal. Then on 25, I would say, again, the PAB, I was going to say noted its motion to adopt the proposal that failed. I'm not sure that that's slightly awkward wording, but it puts the failure of the motion up front, and it does not. I agree with Claude completely that the commission will be confused on this. So what are the words that we can use? Noted, recommended, agreed.
Yeah, the words that can be used are recommended, recommendation, adopted, endorsed, agreed, noted, considered, urged, or acknowledged.
Could we say that we endorsed an opposition, or we endorsed the opposition to Prop A3?
Except then we'd be voting against it in our vote count.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So I think that would agree with the first part of it. Right now, it doesn't agree with the first part of it. It says we recommended that the commission adopt the proposal. Our recommendation as a result of that vote was that the commission does not adopt that proposal.
Right, but I mean,
how to...
yeah. Sorry, Peggy, go ahead.
Well, I'm just trying to remember what Claude just said, and I think maybe the PAB endorsed opposition to Proposal A3.
So Peggy, if we say endorsed opposition, then our vote will not, because we voted against this recommendation. If we put in endorsed opposition, it'd be like a double negative, for lack of a better example.
Yes, that was my...
And why can we not say the PAB recommended that the commission does not adopt this proposal? It's not a motion, so Robert's rules would not prevail there.
It was a motion, so the PAB, I do believe that the PAB recommended the commission adopt the proposal was a motion, because we didn't know how else to, but we can't put not in there for the same reason, because it would be, again, a double negative, then the votes would not, then technically we would say that motion would fail and that we would recommend the proposal.
Okay, then how about this? If we're doing two things which I think are difficult to do in one sentence, but we're calling this statement, we're giving the rules that we give to motions to this statement to the commission. But if that's the case, if that's what we have to work with, then how about we say the PAB recommended in a motion that the commission adopt Proposal A3, and that motion failed, period.
So Peggy, Dr. Wilson also, I'm going to give him mic access, or the secretary will give him mic access, and I think he's going to perhaps help as well.
That'd be great, thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Yeah, this is a very, very strange wording. It should, I would suggest it's something as simple as the PAB noted the motion to adopt proposal, whatever it is, and then you have the votes, and then the motion failed. And so that way the word recommended is not there, it's not necessary. And I think that should clear it up. The PAB noted a or the motion to adopt proposal A3. And then you have the votes, and then the motion failed, and that's all you need. You can add the extra text if you like, but anything else would be confusing for the commissioners. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson.
Thanks, Dr. Wilson. I'm happy with that. That looks good.
I apologize, I got lost. Did I capture it correct?
Yeah, I think more so. The PAB noted a motion to adopt proposal, to get rid of, to adopt proposal A3. Then you have the vote. The motion failed with concerns over, and the rest is fine. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Wilson. Thanks, Peggy. I'm not sure. Did we get through this full page? Peggy, go ahead. Oh.
Remnant hand, sorry.
No, not at all. Dr. Wilson, for you as well as, okay, thanks so much. I do believe we made it, or I guess we can allow people to read through this quickly. If we want to scroll all the way and bring 27 to the top. Okay, I think we're good. We can scroll past paragraph 31. Again, if somebody has anything, if they want to stop us, please raise your hand.
Peggy?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. And on 32, second line, regulation changes, delete 4. Thank you.
Element 34, it feels like there's, after Alaska regulatory area, there is a nomenclature missing. Should it just be Alaska regulatory areas?
I think so.
I'll just double check the proposal. Colin.
If we could scroll to past 7 or right at 7. If people want to just quickly read through 37 and 38, and then I think we'll probably want to, put that more so we can read it in a more... Maybe scroll up a little bit so we, Cloud, I think we missed, I think it would be nice to have, A, B, and C maybe all together, just for a moment anyway. Yeah, Peggy, go ahead. Oh, okay. Carl, please.
Yeah, Claude, just going back to Prop C1, it was listed as regulatory areas 2C, 3A, 3B, 4A, 4B, 4C, 4D, 4E. So basically all areas except 2A, 2B. So it wasn't all regulatory areas.
So this says in Alaska regulatory areas,
It
which covers
says
it.
it says regular for Pacific Halibut IPHC regulatory areas 2C, 3A, 3B.
Yes, roger that, but I think this sentence covers all of them by just calling them Alaska regulatory areas, because that's what they are.
Fair.
Carl, do you have your hand up still?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
No problem. Oh, I see. This is PAB noted the following from the FAC 09 report. So sorry, I was lost in where we were. So, I guess we can scroll down from that if everybody's been able to read that.
Claude, could you give us a little more context and just go up to 38? I don't think I quite read all of that. Thank you. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Or even a little bit further. Sorry, Peggy.
Yeah, you can go down to 39. I'm sorry.
Oh, actually, can you scroll up to just the start of ROP? So was it the PAB noted, or we noted the proposed improvements? Okay, thank you. That's fine, yeah. Yeah, Heather, go ahead.
Madam, I guess I'm going to need a little bit of help in understanding the use of in 39.
Sorry, you cut out, Heather. What do you need help understanding?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm going to need a little help understanding the implications of the different words used in 39, 40, and 41, recommended, agreed, and noted. And I see that it does note at the end that they're all voted on together. And so I am just not familiar enough with the implications of those various words to understand what that, why they're used, why it's different words.
Chair?
Yes,
Did you hear that?
Yes. So this is Claude. The first one, it was altered to recommended. I'm not 100% sure why that was, but on elements 40 and 41, I can speak to that. The first one was indicating agreement within PAB that it would like Hannah to continue to play an active role, and it suggests some methods that may be relevant and why and how Hannah represents the industry. Originally, 41 also said agreed, but that implied that we were agreeing to someone or somewhere that was already suggesting the establishment of a working group, and that had not been put forth anywhere yet. So instead, it was it was deemed that noted was more appropriate, that it was the PAB was noting that it intends to establish a working group to work through some of the elements of rewriting the rules of procedure, including on the last line there, but not limited to, clarification and weighting of proxy voting and timing of the elections for chair and vice chair. So we weren't agreeing to a working group because it hadn't already been put out there. Instead, we were noting that the desire to establish such a working group.
Heather, go ahead.
Okay. I was just wondering who made those suggested wording, that who suggested those words. I just, again, it's difficult to understand what all the implications are for each of those designations, I guess, implicit in those different words. So thank you. I don't think I have a problem with it. I just wanted to understand the reasoning.
Understood. And if you'd like, I mean, I can redo some of the other, at the beginning of the minutes, there's sort of an explanation beyond that. Do you want me to read that to you now and provide other words if you'd like to change it, or are you okay?
I'm okay. I don't need you to read anything. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
I see Dr. Wilson has his hand up. I'm not sure if it's from before.
Yeah, thanks. Through the chair. No, I'm kind of curious as well. I had no problem with the edits that are suggested. I missed the start of this morning, but I'm assuming those edits were put up as part of the amended motion and then voted on this morning. I think that's correct, is it? I'm not sure who put the edits in, but just to help, I guess, answer Heather's question. I'm assuming that's what happened this morning, is that the motion from last night was brought across with these amendments proposed, and then it was voted on. But I think it's important to clarify for the group, given Heather's question as well, which I have the same question.
So if I may, those elements were included in the edits that went that were being worked on this morning, and then they went to all three of these were put up on a note in front of the PAB, and the word requested was amended to recommended, and there's a few other little edits in here that came from that process, and then this was the result of the vote on it this morning.
Okay, thanks, Claude. That makes a lot of sense. So it was presented as edits to a motion that was tabled last night, and then the PAB voted on it. Okay, that makes sense and sounds like good process.
Thank you.
Madam Chair?
Looks like she lost her mic. Yes, Peggy.
I think Heather was asking, and don't let me put words in your mouth, Heather, about the agreed and noted and recommended words. I think that was asked and answered too by Claude. In our discussion about number 41, we did talk a little bit about timing on that, getting the work group established. Would that be something we could do in an intersessional meeting shortly after this one? Dr. Wilson?
Sorry, I was only partially listening there. I'm assuming, sorry, if you could just repeat the question. I wasn't fully focused on it.
Sure, no problem. In our discussion about number 41, we had talked about having the work group work with the Secretariat on changes to the terms of reference and rules of procedure in intersessional meetings that would go on beyond this meeting, and I don't know if we actually put it in the minutes, but thinking about presenting it to the commissioners at the interim meeting this year, no later than that anyway. So would that be done in an intersessional meeting of the PAB, maybe scheduled for the next month or so, within the next month or so? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Through the chair, two quick things. I wouldn't amend the motion that's already been voted on, so I wouldn't put the word intersessionally there. But to answer functionally the question, yes, absolutely. I mean, a working group is not the standard meeting of the PAB, and so that would absolutely occur intersessionally, and hopefully soon after this meeting. Thanks, Chair.
Perfect. Thanks, Dr. Wilson.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Wilson, and thank you, Peggy. If we don't have any other comments on this little section, I think we'll go ahead and move on to other business. Okay, this was pretty fresh in our minds since we just discussed it like an hour ago. So if anybody has a hand to raise or anything to edit here, please let us know. And from there, we'll go on to what I believe is the last page.
Just to note, there's one outstanding element, and that is a vote in paragraph 45 at the end of this, that the PAB has endorsed this report.
Thank you very much. We'll give people just a little bit longer to get through the whole thing and make sure there isn't any additions that we need to make. Yeah, Peggy, go ahead.
My question is on paragraph 44, and I don't want to jump the line if someone's got comments on paragraphs before that.
Does not look like
it. Thank you. We did get some assistance from, her name is escaping me, but from Area 2A with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife. And I would like to thank her also.
As well as Maureen from DFO. I last name was escaping me.
Absolutely.
Maureen.
If I may, should that go in the section that it was discussed in for those, because they're rather specific, or do you want it down in here?
I think down in here would be appropriate. I'm not sure I heard where the other option was located.
Yeah, there's a few spots higher up in the document that the PAB notes, MSc work done by Dr. Hicks or things like that, and it's in that appropriate section. But it sounds like someone.
This is more of a acknowledgements and appreciation, and I think that would go there. Her I mean, Marines was more than the woman whose name I can't remember. Darn it. But I think this would fit. This would be a good location for thinking. Thank you. That was it. Thanks, Claude.
I'll need help on Maureen's last name and
I think Finn.
Yeah. With DFO.
And then also just that Michael has mentioned Doug Duncan from NOAA in the chat, and then Heather also agencies such as NIMS. Did we have come in, Heather? I think Doug was with NOAA, but maybe I'm wrong. Thanks, Heather.
through the chair. Did I miss anybody there that was mentioned? I'm not sure I caught it.
I think you've got them all just NOAA/NIMS at the beginning of the third line. Yeah. Thank you.
So just for those in attendance, this portion here in 45, it'll be populated once we have the votes for approval of this report. And then down below, there are some appendices, which include the Canadian contingent, the American contingent, those voting in proxy, and who the designees were, the Secretariat members present, the overall agenda, that's the updated agenda, and then the recommendations, and this is how this is always included in this document. This came from Dr. Stewart. These are how the various elements all split out from the TCEYs that were adopted in Table 1. And it also shows 4C, D, and E's FCEYs down below here, just for your reference and awareness.
That looks great, Claude. Thank you.
Through the chair, if you're happy with this, I can stop sharing and you can go to a vote if you'd like.
Yes, please. Thank you very much. We can move forward with the vote. Do we need, does someone need to put forth a motion, or do I just ask for, yeah, Heather, please go ahead.
Madam Chair, I move we adopt the report of this session of the PAB.
Seconded.
Great, thanks all. So, same as always, thumbs up or thumbs down, or raise your hand to abstain. Norm, I believe we're just waiting on you. I know you've had connectivity issues. Thank you, sir. Proxies, if you could go ahead and put up your vote. Thank you very much. The motion passes unanimously. So thank you all very much for participating this year. I do realize that the platform is pretty difficult, and so we're very thankful for everybody who participates and everybody making the effort to be, even if you get logged on and off, to be back and to make attempts to contribute. Vice Chair Carl, do you have anything?
No, I just wanted to thank the Secretariat staff and their help and assistance on the back end of this, Claude, Tara, and others that we didn't have the fortunate chance to speak to. So thank you for your guys' help.
I second that, and to both of you and to all the members, thanks so much for making this work.
Happy.
Very well. I think we're just looking for one more motion to adjourn, perhaps.
Move to
Madam Chair,
adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second that.
Meeting won't end. Do we vote or by consensus? Are you?
No,
I think
this is second or.
Awesome. Well, thank you all again, and I don't think we need to vote. I think consensus is great. I apologize.
All in a few minutes.
Thank you. Bye.